Hello world, it's Craig James for the Jive with James podcast. Today we're going to do something a little different. We're going to have a little book review for the podcast that has already been done. The reason is, we have a YouTube channel as well, Craig James SL, but I haven't really had any desire to make videos really anymore. I've been trying to more concentrate on my writing and just the podcast. So I recorded a bunch of book reviews for that channel, and I might not put them up. So I might put them up, but just I want them on the podcast as well because that's the main platform. So I have a bunch that I did record. So we'll start from the beginning. This one will be of one of my favorite books in the series. It'll be part one. It's by author Graham Hancock. It's the War God series, and it's the Night of the Witch, the first one. So I'll let the intro hit, and it will go right into the audio for that. So we'll see you at the end.
Hey guys, it's Craig James here with a book review. I finally finished this book. It's been a task. I bought it in 2014. I used to read it at a job I had while I was working late at night, and I could read a book to pass the time. And I don't have that anymore, and now I'm not getting paid to read, so I kind of stopped reading for a little bit. Got too deep into the video games, playing the games too much, especially when you have a game YouTube channel. You're always playing games. So now, back into reading. Got to expand the brain piece. Because it's like a muscle, right? You gotta exercise it. You gotta exercise your brain. So I finally finished this book. I'm getting all sidetracked. It is Graham Hancock, War God, Knights of the Witch. I really like this book. I'm gonna obviously go more in depth and just say I really like this book. But you may think, oh wow, it took you 4 years to finish the thing. Obviously couldn't be that good. Nope, like I said, that was all pure laziness on my part. I restarted it. I have the sequel book that I'm going to start soon, and the new one, the third, final one, comes out I think in like 3 or 4 months. So getting in the game. Just aesthetically, cover sweet. I really like the art on it, the art. Yeah, it was a really fun book. It takes place in 1519. The Spanish conquest of Mexico, Hernan Cortez, the Spaniard invading Mexico and taking out Tenochtitlan. I probably butchered that. I can never say it right. I try. Emperor Moctezuma of the Aztecs, or the Mexico, whatever you want to call him. That kind of takes place there. It's not exactly a history book. It's not like, oh, it's a history, obviously, because it says witch. What I like about it is that it takes place in a historical time with historical characters, but like it's like a fantasy novel. You got like a witch, obviously, again, Night of the Witch, Knights of the Witch. There's a lot of different characters in this book, but it's kind of a fantasy novel in a different time point, which is kind of cool because most books are all like, oh, World War II and all that stuff, which I love. I love World War II history, Cold War history. I love all history. You'll come to find that out. But it was cool. I can't think of a lot of media other than like documentaries of the period that take place during this time frame. So it's kind of cool. I like where it takes place. It's a new, fresh thing. Pros. Give you my pros and cons, and then I'll give you an overall what I think. Number 1, the historical setting. Obviously, I already said that. 1519 Mexico. Fresh take. Not something you see all the time. It's awesome. I love the environment, and Graham describing Mexico and like the colors of like the stuff they wore and like just the landscape and stuff. It's a very vivid time and place. It was really interesting. I liked it. Characters. There is a lot of characters in this book. I think there's a point of view of 9 characters throughout the book, which is pretty good. They're all developed really well. I know other books that I'm doing an audiobook of another book, not by Hancock, but by somebody else. I think I'm up to chapter 7. There's a lot of different characters in the book, and I can't remember any of them. I have no idea what their names are. I don't know what they're doing, and I'm 7 chapters in, and I think there's like 30 characters. I don't know what's going on. So I like how in this book there's a lot of characters, but they're all developed really well, and things like Hernan Cortez, he wasn't exactly the nicest guy in the world, burning people, alive and all that good stuff. But at least in this book, I feel kind of sympathetic towards Cortez. I'm like, yeah, Cortez, let's friggin' win the battle, bruh. It's a good time. So, developed really well. Hopefully, in the next book, we'll hate Cortez, because, we're supposed to. Not that the Aztecs were any nicer. It's kind of a bad guy versus bad guy thing, but that's where, the fantasy characters come in. They're kind of playing with history. Another pro, which is kind of similar to the other thing with characters, is every character has a purpose. I find in some books, especially books with a lot of characters, that some are just there. You don't really know what they're doing. You're like, oh, what's that guy doing? He keeps popping up, but I don't really know what his motives are or what he's trying to accomplish. Everyone in this book has a purpose, and you know what that purpose is. So I think that's really good. Again, Hancock, you nailed it. You nailed the characters in this book. It's awesome. Everyone in this book feels important, which is what I like. And the final pro, I'll say, is the descriptions of the battles and landscapes, which I kind of said in the premise. It does a really good job of describing, I know early on in the book, I'm not going to give anything away, but there's guys sneaking around in the jungle and stuff, and the way it's being described, I can kind of I can picture it very vividly, which is what a good book should do. I don't want to, sitting there just reading words. I could be looking at a textbook. If I wanted a textbook on Aztecs, I could go get one easily. I'd enjoy reading it. That's not what I want. If I'm reading a novel, I want to picture what's going on. And I really like how well it's described, which is really, really good. This book is really good for that. I find everything's descriptive, characters, landscapes, everything. All in all, pretty good. I do have a few cons, as with everything. And one of the cons actually is, I liked it as a pro, but some people, this is more what I could think people would have a problem with. I didn't mind it because it's, like I said, very well done. I can see where having too many characters can be a problem. Even there's a lot of main point of view characters, but there's also a lot of supporting characters and stuff like that. There's a lot of people, and they're all historical figures. So being a history guy myself, I kind of knew a lot of these guys, like Sandoval, for instance, and Alvarado. But there's some other characters that, if you don't really know history, or if you're new to the premise, then maybe there's too many characters and you kind of might be hard to follow for you. Not saying anything against it, I'm just saying that could be a problem for some people. One thing that this book does have, though, to negate that con, I noticed, I went and checked the other book that I'm reading that has 1 million characters and see if there's anything that they have. The last bunch of pages after the novel's done, look how thick that is. This book he goes into very good detail about, the time frame, all the settings, describes everything, all the characters, who they are, supporting characters, point of view characters. He describes everything in here. So if you do have trouble with the amount of characters or what's going on, you can refer to the back of the book, because he does explain that all in there and who everybody is. So I actually didn't know that until I finished the book. I've had this book forever. I didn't look through. But I didn't struggle with the characters. I thought I've read other books like that, but I know, say, The Hunger Games is just one I'm pulling off the top of my head. It really only follows one person. This book follows, a bunch of people, so some people might find that difficult. This con did affect me, but it's no one's fault. It's some of the names are hard to pronounce, especially the Aztec guys, and you heard me try to say Tenochtitlan earlier. Some of the names are a little hard to announce. The gods, Quetzalcoatl or whatever. I can't pronounce any of them. I just look at them. I know who everybody is. So sometimes that can be kind of a pain when you're trying to read it and you're looking at it what does that say? How do you pronounce that? But I mean, nothing really you can do about that. That's not Graham's fault. That's not my fault. That's not anybody's fault. Not a lot of people speak the native Aztec language, so sometimes it's hard to pronounce. Overall, I would give this 8 out of 10. I would recommend this to everyone. Be like, oh, well, you said a lot of good things, but I didn't give it 10 out of 10. It's really hard for me to get a perfect score. 8 out of 10, I think, is fair. It's a very good book. Awesome read. I had fun reading it. I can't wait to start the second one. I want to start it right away, but I do have as you may see behind me, I have a bunch of books there. A lot of those I haven't read yet, so I don't know. I want to open up, read some other things, but I really want to read that second one, especially with the third. I think the third one comes out in June, so I got a few months to get there. So 8 out of 10. Buy it, read it, get the second one. I don't know what the second one is yet. I'll probably review that once I get around and read it and everything.
So I hope you enjoyed that review of Graham Hancock's Night of the Witch, the War God series. I enjoyed reading it. It did take me a little while because I got busy, as I think I say in the thing. But nonetheless, I hope you enjoyed it. This has been Craig James. You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, Tumblr. Everything's under Craig James SL. CraigJamesSL.com, and on YouTube as well. Where else? And Java James podcast is on every major podcast platform. So check those out. We got previous episodes. I believe the last one we did, we covered my essay of what would have happened if Gavrilo Princip wouldn't have killed Franz Ferdinand. One Man's Bullet is what it's called, so go check that out. Anyway, I bid you adieu. I hope you enjoyed. Thanks again, and as always, keep it clean, keep it peaceful.